The following story may not be appropriate for all audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. Welcome to Whisperwood Stories. Today we're going to continue the story that I wrote for you. Remember that my Patreon will be one part ahead. Let's begin. Express Static, Part 3. I stared out of the elevator doors. The dead world stared back. This time, it seemed, I couldn't wake up. A breeze like pained voices rolled past the elevator cabin. Newspapers and trash carried by its ghost. Where am I? The elevator suddenly moaned under my feet, shifting in a way that made me move quickly. I had to snatch my purse as I darted outside. I turned to look and gasped as I heard a whipping noise. The elevator cabin fell, like a bungee jumper whose line had just snapped. I peered down carefully into that dark abyss. I didn't even hear it hit the bottom. My numbness had fled now. Only the panic remained in its place. A panic at where I was, at somehow knowing that everything and everyone had changed. My phone was still held tightly in my hand. I placed it back in my blazer pocket. I looked around me in desperation. The buildings here seemed so familiar, but made into an impossible version of my memory. Heights that reached into hungry clouds, skyscrapers that bent towards the street in dangerous curves, roads that seemed to go nowhere. So much space, but no one inside. My body ached as if I'd run a marathon. My spinning head didn't help my disorientation. I didn't know where to go, but I soon found myself running despite my tiredness. The last remaining high heel flailed off my foot. Hello? My call was only met by its own echoes. When I could no longer run, which wasn't long, I walked, weaving between the abandoned vehicles like endless graveyard headstones. The cars were painfully normal. Recognizable. I studied a vinyl sticker on one of their rear windows. Our family in stick figures. A tree-shaped air freshener hung from the rear view. Somehow, this made me feel more alone. I called out again and again, but there was simply nothing. No one. The icy air was cutting at me. My blazer being hugged closer didn't help me warm up one bit. I stood now in the middle of an intersection. The traffic lights above still blinked their muted colors as if nothing were amiss. The buildings around me now were more of the same, but I now saw a cafe, a pawn shop, a mini-mall. There were places that I felt like I'd seen before. I didn't remember them being next to each other back home, though. Back home. A strange way to say it, but the only way. Scoping over the horizon made even more questions. The distance was clear, if dim, but there seemed to be no end in sight. I figured that even from here I should be able to see the water, but the streets went on forever. I saw something else. Far down a distant street to my right was some kind of tower of a skyscraper. Black glass covered its unnatural curves like crystalline serpent scales. A red radio light blinked at the top in hypnotic slowness. The building seemed to emanate a shadow that the gray mist ran from. Staring at it felt repelling, but drawing all the same. I might have stared at it forever if I hadn't heard some odd noise ahead. There was a figure about a block away from me. A person, it seemed like, who had run into an open car door to cause the metallic sound. I squinted to refine the shape. Yes, it was a person. I felt relieved. "Hey! Over here!" I yelled, waving. The person stopped their stumbling gait. They looked over, parallel to me now, if at a different intersection. Were they afraid too? They must be. A light turned on. Not a street light, not a car's headlights, but on this person. Specifically where their head should be, an arced spotlight, swiveling side to side as their head did. When the light, though distant, fell onto me, I felt that familiar static headache that had been plaguing me. I somehow knew that no pills would be able to chase it away here. The light threatened to burn as it came closer. I held my head while it throbbed more and more. I managed to gather myself moments later, and I ran once I did. I nearly stumbled straight into an abandoned vehicle that I was forced to careen around. That light was chasing me now. I could feel its distance closing in. My head. Damn it, my head. I felt dizzy, sick, but I continued to run on instinct if nothing else. I had nowhere to go. Where could I possibly hide? With a desperate glance, I found myself looking towards that cafe. That was it then, my only choice. Running this hard began to chafe at my feet. The front door of the cafe hit the wall hard as I pushed inside. I hunted for somewhere to hide, which is what made me realize something. I knew this place. Nothing had changed from the version of it I knew, except the emptiness. It was as if I'd simply entered long after closing time. I glanced from one table to another until I saw a specific one in the back corner, the very table where my husband and I had met for our first date. That spotlight suddenly burned me as the figure stepped into view outside. I could see them from one of the windows, now standing in the middle of that same intersection I had just been in. They swiveled in each direction in search. I ducked behind the cafe's main counter. After a couple of calming breaths, I peeked over it to watch out of the windows for that figure. It was still looking for me. Slow now, but walking this way. I tried to keep a clear view of it to make out just what the hell that figure was, but I couldn't. "You were a quarterback?" The sudden voice was mine. It was accompanied by a drift of noise, a bustling dining room. There were a pair of figures sitting at that back table now, see-through ghosts made of static. Yeah, believe it or not, I kind of let myself go after sophomore year in college. "Which high school?" my voice asked, chuckling. "Crestview. The place for the county to put the low-income kids so the rich ones don't have to look at them." "Huh, that's where I went. I was actually a cheerleader for a while, but I ditched it for the debate club. They pushed all of the girls into cheer pretty hard back then." The sight of those ghosts hurt. A memory so long ago that I had almost forgotten. Forgotten how charming he was before everything. "Oh, that must be it then. My question is answered," he said. "What question?" "I never forget a beauty, but I couldn't quite place you." My ghost scoffed. "Yeah, right. Nice try, Art, was it? Sorry, I'm terrible with names." "No worries, Elaine. That's right." The ghosts dissipated as I watched them, but not on their own. The spotlight was peeking directly into the cafe window, right outside, right at me, burning the ghosts away like gasoline fumes. It was so bright that I couldn't focus, so close that the pain was immense. I could only watch as the spotlight creature walked towards the front door. Was it humming? I tried to think of something to do, but all I managed to find to defend myself was a broom. I held it in front of me as the front door pounded open. The figure just stood there, watching me as I tried to calm myself. The humming turned into a little laugh. "Found you, Elaine," Fred's voice cooed, a voice that brought nothing but dread. It seemed to come from the spotlight, but sounded as though it leaked from a walkie-talkie on nearly dead batteries. "What do you want?" I demanded. The figure stumbled into the room. It crossed the cafe in a wooden, wobbling gait as my terrified heart raced. "Did you really think you could get away so easily?" I jabbed at it as it wandered closer. I had wanted to escape, but I didn't want this. The creature reached out for me. I could feel Fred's smile. I heard a crack as something hit the figure's head. The spotlight creature careened to the floor, and before it could move, there was a wild, clicking sound jabbed downward. Bluish light flickered up as the creature jolted with electricity. The creature wailed with an inhuman sound before falling flat. It twitched, black smoke rising from it with a smell like burning hair. It made the body unrecognizable. Left behind where the figure had been standing was another, a bald man, holding what seemed to be a stun prod of some kind. His old denim jacket was wrapped by a bandolier and backpack straps. He ejected something from the rod, then replaced it with a new cartridge from the bandolier. The man looked vaguely familiar somehow. I couldn't place him. "Who the fuck are you?" he said, his tone, more than anything, sharpening my attention. I scoffed. "Who am I? Who are you?" We stared at each other, giving me and the creature one last look over. The man shrugged and started to walk out of the cafe. I blinked. "Hey, where are you going?" I said. The man ignored me. "Thanks for saving me, I guess." Having to pointedly avoid the smoking body, I ran to catch up to the man's side. We were out of the cafe now, in the gray city streets. "Seriously? You're just going to help, then leave?" I said. "Stop following me," the man replied. "What even is this place? Where are we? What was that thing?" With a world-weary sigh, he finally stopped. His look up at the gray sky seemed desperate for some way out of the situation. "So, you're another one. New here, huh?" "New? New to what?" I said. He gestured broadly. "To this place, obviously." "I guess. Aren't you?" I said. With a raised eyebrow and sigh, he turned, kept going, and threw one last comment over his shoulder. "You're probably just gonna turn into one of those things anyway. I wanted to get one over for once. Bye now." This time, I didn't follow. I watched him weave through the abandoned vehicles as the cold breeze churned around me. It wasn't long before I was alone. I wandered the city for a while, for what felt like hours. I saw a few familiar places, some of which I stopped by, but all were empty of life. I didn't see any more of those strange ghosts like in the cafe before. The last idea I had was to try and find my home. I tried to triangulate myself, but things weren't where they should be. There was simply no way to find my home. I even stumbled back on where the elevator had left me originally, but there was still only a dark chasm. In all of my searching, however, I did manage to find something new. I stood now at a bridge, a city bridge that normally would go over water, but instead went over an endless river of strange clouds. I couldn't see what was on the other side because of a curtain of similar mist. I glanced to the right, at a sandwich joint on the corner, then looked back to the bridge. With a moment to psych myself up, I started running. There had to be something on the other side. The bridge, like everywhere else, was full of abandoned cars. I clambered between them desperately, hoping that if I simply believed, I could go home. I could see him again. It was a long run. I made myself do it. The open air of clouds seemed to almost hum, to whisper at me as the air rushed past. Only a little further, I thought. After several minutes and a few breaks, I was there. I had to immediately lean over once I reached the end of the bridge, breathing hard. My purse slid down off my shoulder. I smiled at the thought of finally making it home. But then I stood up. As anyone might have expected, I was still in the same nightmare. I knelt down in the middle of the road. I was losing hope. Where was I? Why couldn't I just go home? My stomach churned painfully as I sat there. All that running and near-death experience apparently had me starving. I cursed. Standing up, I looked sideways and sandwich shop. There had to be something inside. Enjoy your run? I paused. It was the bald man from before. He was leaning casually on a lamppost by the shop, like he was watching a kid desperately trying to repair a dropped ice cream cone. What are you doing here? I thought it was a lost cause or something, I said. You are? But you're making a lot of noise outside my house. Your house? He gestured up at the sandwich shop. Seemed as good of a place as any. Is there food in there? He rolled his eyes. So you're gonna endanger my base and also eat my food? What do I get in return, eh? I leaned back over, trying to catch the rest of my breath as I shrugged. The man sighed. He looked off towards the bridge. Fine. Come in then. Looks like there's a group of them on the hunt for you. I glanced over to where he was looking, and he was right. There was a mass of those strange things, maybe 20 or so, marching their way across the bridge. More of those spotlight heads from earlier were at the front. Their heads swiveled as they looked this way and that, definitely on the hunt. My hungry knot morphed into a fearful one as I followed the man inside the sandwich shop. He shut the door quietly, then wrapped a thick chain around the handles. I took a moment to look around. The restaurant had a cozy, natural theme. Lots of plants and stained wood. Cozy at least, if not for the fact that the plants seemed long dead, and the windows were now boarded up. Strangely, too, I saw that every screen in this place was smashed. TVs, thermostats, any and all. Did you? Shh! Keep your voice down, he interrupted, whispering. They'll be passing us any second now. Oh, sorry. The man watched the streets carefully through a crack in the boards. I glanced at the dead plants. Is the food here still good? The man shrugged. There's still power. Everything's in the back room and the fridges. I just felt more and more nervous out here in the main room, so I decided to go take a look. Afraid or not, hunger won out. In search of food we go. The kitchens were pristine. It was as if they were about to be featured on some reality TV show, and every spot had been scrubbed free of grime. I could see the man had used pots and pans, but it had been kept tidy despite the strange nature of this place. No big teams here to make large messes. There were indeed stockpiles of food in the fridges, much of which seemed like it had been brought here. Given that this place was a sandwich shop, however, it felt appropriate to take one of the pre-made wraps. Turkey and tomato. I just hoped it was still good. I carried it out to the room and sat at one of the many tables. The man was still just kneeling there in front of the windows, so I started to eat as quietly as I could. It tasted fresh. "Shite," he muttered, seeming more annoyed than alarmed. "What?" I said past a mouthful. "They're having. You'll probably stick around for a while. Your little show, really." His eyes fell on me at once. "Is that one of my turkey and tomato wraps?" I stopped chewing. "It depends. Would it be a good thing or a bad thing?" He let out a heavy sigh. Quiet steps echoed as he went into the back room himself in an annoyed posture. "Whoops," I mumbled. I wasn't that sorry. He returned moments later with an identical wrap of his own. He opted to stand at the bar, it seemed, rather than sit anywhere near me. "So," I eventually said, "I never caught your name." "Don't matter," he replied. I gave him a frank look. "Can you stop being an asshole for like 30 seconds? The man rolled his eyes. "Carl, you?" "Elaine, since we're sitting here, can you at least tell me what the hell this place is?" "I don't know. It's probably hell or something stupid like that. Haven't you seen the movies?" "That's all you have to say about a nightmare reality where we're being hunted by crazy monsters?" I guess, stumbled in here one day. Been here a while. Opened my bedroom door and I was here. It's been almost peaceful in a way," Carl said. It was my turn to sigh. "What do you know about those things out there then?" "Not much, I guess. Try to grab you, hunt you down. Spotlights can see, but the other ones can't. I've seen normal people turn into them, so there's that." From where I sat, I watched out of the crack in the boarded-up windows. The strange figures marched out there, all shapes and sizes. The dim light made it easier to make out the details. They seemed to be dressed in clothes of random assortments. Jackets, crew necks, blouses, t-shirts and jeans. Just people, really. Normal. Normal at least, if not for their heads. Instead of a face, hair, anything, it was either one of those spotlights or just a cloud of static. There were two kinds, then? The static heads all walked in an awkward formation behind the spotlights, marching down the road like a strange parade of escaped freaks. Carl walked over to lean on my table. "If one of those spotlights gets you, you're done. If the static things catch you, you have a chance. They have to bring you to a screen and shove you inside. They'll dunk your head in, and out you come covered in static like an ice cream cone dipped in chocolate." "Thanks for making me hate ice cream," I muttered. "Will they come inside here?" Probably not. They don't really explore the individual buildings." Carl stared at me pointedly. "Unless, that is, they hear a loud, crazed lunatic woman screaming as she runs through the city." I held my arms out defensively. What else am I supposed to do? I was just on my way to another shitty day at work when the elevator doors opened into this nightmare. Just saying. We sat there for a while, watching the wandering figures loop the nearby blocks. "Did you see anything before you came here, I mean?" Carl asked. What? Before I was forced here or whatever, I was seeing things. Strange dreams that started leaking into reality. I was gonna call a doc about it. Might. He paused. Let's just say someone important to me would appear. She'd tell me what happened to her was my fault. I swallowed. Yeah, that happened to me too. Except it was some talk show host. He just kept showing up to tell me that everything was my fault. Carl eyed me. Really? You were haunted by a comedian? When you say it like that, it makes it sound stupid, but... Yes? Carl made a noise between a scoff and chuckle. I came up with another question to take away from my embarrassment. What's that tower up there? The dark one far up the road, with the red light? I said. Carl's amusement shifted to a nervous look. On his otherwise impassive face, that expression had double the effect. Don't go up there, he said simply. I waited a moment before replying. Why? Just don't. It's the hub for these monsters, I think. It's where the queen bee lives that controls the hive. How do you know that? Got pretty close once. I don't know how I escaped, to be honest. The place has a pole. Carl paused. Anyway, what'd you do for work then? I chuckled. Whether at his question or the answer, I couldn't say. I'm a lawyer. Sitting in chairs all day didn't exactly prepare me for whatever this is. Lawyer? Did you win any big cases or whatever? I shrugged. Sure, I guess. Very noble. I made the defense plan for a very big company that got them out of a rut they likely deserved to be in, and that let them launch something. What kind of something? I thought for a moment. Something sinister. Sinister, aye? Carl said. Yep. Huh? For some reason, I wanted to tell him the rest. I had to tell someone. I felt hesitant at the same time, though, like saying it would bring all of that weight crashing back down onto me. Maybe make me actually guilty. Still, based on the things Fred told me, maybe this was something that could help. It was a class action case against Express Electronics. I was on defense. Carl turned slowly, chair creaking. He watched me for a long time, his gaze shifting suspiciously as he folded his arms. Express Electronics? As in EE Express? I looked up in surprise. How did he know that? You know it? Carl suddenly stood up, looking angry. He pointed at me. Do you have any idea what you've done? You're the reason they released it? I was so struck by Carl's demanding tone, I only managed a simple reply. I don't understand. He pointed out the window sharply. Those things out there are EE's puppets. This is that monster's domain. It wears the face of whatever it can to lure you in and turn you into one of those things. How do you know that? I demanded, standing up too. Carl took a step towards me. You ain't getting off that easy. Look, I didn't make the damn thing, okay? You can't blame this shit on me, I snapped. I felt guilt burning in my stomach. You deserve it all. Carl laughed to himself. I can't believe it. Of all the people I get stuck in this shithole with, it's Express's top goddamn lawyer? You might just be the very person who created this nightmare. Oh, and I'm sure you're guiltless. How many Express products did you buy while you were back home? None, Carl said hesitantly. I avoided them like the plague. Both of us froze. The doors into the shop jostled heavily as a beam of light shone inside. The chains rattled. "Who's being loud now?" I whispered furiously. The light was turning towards us. Carl made himself fall flat on the ground to hide, pulling me down with him. The light beamed slowly just over our heads. From this angle, I could just see a glimpse of the spotlight-headed figure through the window. There seemed to be only one, a stray from the pack, maybe. Its shoulders twitched as it heavily pulled at the door again. It seemed to understand that something was in its way, so instead it went to one of the windows. A hand pressed against the glass to help it see inside. It was such a familiar motion, so human and yet so not. Carl pulled me left as the light scanned the right side, hissing a curse as we inched away. The thing continued to stare into the shop, every corner, every detail. We could only watch from the floor. Its light searched for a moment longer, lingering, then seemed to lose interest. It turned and wandered back down the street to rejoin its group. I gave Carl a pointed look, jerking my arm away from his grip. He sneered back. When we stood up, we did not hide together. Thank you for listening to Whisperwood Stories. If you enjoyed, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe down below. Do you have a story that you'd like me to read here? Consider commenting or sending it to whisperwoodsubmissions@gmail.com. The story in this video was read with the author's permission. Me. Thank you again for listening, and be sure to check out the links below, where you can also read the story. Want to support me? Check out the links below where you can leave a tip if you wish. And remember, don't let the shadows get too close. Good night, mate.